Shri Guru Charan Saroj Raja Nijamano Mukur Sudha Parana Raghubar Vivala Jasu Jodaya Kupalacha Buddhihina Tanu Janike Sumiram Bhavana Kumar Bala Buddhi Vidya Dehu Mohi Harahu Kalesha Bhikar Bhajiloji Hanuman Bhajiloji Hanuman Bhajiloji Hanuman Bhajiloji Hanuman Jaya Hanuman Jnana Guna Sagar Jaya Kapisha Tihun Loka Ujaga Ramaduta Tulita Baladhama Anjani Putra Pavana Sutanama Mahavira Bikram Bajarangi Kumati Nivara Sumati Kesangi Kanchana Varana Biraja Subesa Karana Kundala Kunchita Kesa Ata Vajra Ora Dvaja Biraje Kande Muja Jane Usaje Shankara Suran Kesari Nandan Teja Pratapa Mahajagavandan Vidyavanu Kurniyati Chatu Rama Kaja Karibe Koatu Prabhu Charitra Sunibe Korasiya Rama Lakana Sita Manabasiya Sukshma Rupa Darisiya Hindikava Nikata Rupa Darilanka Charava Ima Rupa Dari Asura Sanghare Ramachandra Ke Kaj Savare Aya Sajivana Lakana Jiyaye Shira Kuvera Hara Shivaralai Ragupati Kimhi Bahota Barai Numama Priya Bharatai Samavai Sasapadan Tumaro Jasagavan Asakahi Shripati Kandala.
So let this beautiful chant take us into meditative awareness. This is a chant invoking Hanuman.
Upakara Sugriva Inkina Rama Milaya Rajapadadi.
So let's extend to each other.
Mantra Vibhishanamana Lankeshwara Bhaisavajagadana Yuga Sahastra Chora.
Let's extend to our ancestors, the mothers and the fathers.
Ilyotahi Madhura Palajana Prabhu Mudrika Mili Mukamahi Jaladilangi Gaye Achara Jana.
Let's extend to all the great yogis who had the good fortune of meeting.
Sukamanugraha Tumarete Ramaduari Tumarakavari
Let's extend to all the different traditions we participate in.
Sabasukalahi Tumari Sharana Tumara Chakakavu Kodarana Apana Teja Samaro Api Ino Loka Hangatengambe Uta Pisachani Gatana Hinave
Let's extend to the typical dimension.
Nasero Hare Sabapira
extended Dakini this morning, as we always do.
Hanumatavira Sankatate Hanuman Churave Manakrama Bachana Dhyana Jolave Saba Paramat Pasvi Raja Inake Kaja Sakala Tumasaja Or Manorat Joko Ilave Soyamita Jivana Palapave Charon Yuga Paratap Tumara He Parasiddha Jagat Ujiyara Sadhu Santa Ke Tumara Kavare Asura Nikandana Rama Durari Ashta Siddhi no Nidhi Ke Data Asavara Dena Janaki Mata Rama Rasayana Tumare Pasa Sadara Hora Kupati Ke Dasa Tumare Bhajan Rama Ko Pave Janama Janama Ke Dukha Visarave Anta Kala Raghuvara Pura Jai Jahan Janma Hare Bhat Kahai और देवता चेतन धरई हनुमत से ही सर्व सुख करई संखत कथे मिथे सब पीरा जो सुमिरै हनुमत बलबीर जय 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 हनुमान गोसाई कृपा करौ गुरुदेव की नाई सत बार पात कर कोई झूठ ही बन्नी महासुख होए जो यह पर हनुमान चालीसा होया सिद्धि सखी गौरीसा तुलसीदास सदा हरि चेरा कीजय नाथ हृदय मंदिर पवन तनय Sankataharana Mangalamuratiru Ramalakana Sita Sahita Hridaya Basau Surarup Siyavara Ramachandra Padaje Sharanam Mangalamurti Marutanandan Sakala Mangalamuranikandan Mangalamurti Marutanandan Sakala Mangalamuranikandan Shri Ram Jai Ram Jai Jai Ram 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 Sitaram 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 Shri Ram Jai Ram Jai Jai Ram Shri Ram Jai Ram Jai Jai Ram Sitaram 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 Jai Ram. Sitaram, 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 Sitaram. Sitaram, 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 Sitaram. Shri Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram. Shri Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram. Shri Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram. Shri Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram.
Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Krishna, 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 Hare Hare.
So we remain in awareness. We can't leave our eyes closed a while. We've been focusing a lot of late on the invocation of the archetypal, the deities, devas, dakinis. And of course, chanting, is the best. The most direct, totally compelling. So, let's begin this morning with another invocation for the fun of it. Dzogchen Lingpa's song of the Tantric Gathering. And might do an infomercial here that Alan Wallace will be doing, I think it's in September, at the Garrison Institute. He's a really great translator and teacher of Dzogchen Lingpa's work, who is the source of the Dzogchen lineage. And he'll be doing in one of the tantras of Vajra Tantra that Dzogchen Lingpa wrote, manifested. Should be really cool. Emaho means fantastic. How wonderful. The perfect time is the evenness of the primordial purity of this moment. And the perfect place, this highest pure land of awareness, the stainless space of phenomena. And the perfect teacher, the Dharmakaya primordial awareness, Guru, self-revelation. And the perfect retinue, the infinite forms of primordial awareness. And the perfect teaching, the secret mantra vehicle, sound, sublime vibrations. Come to this tantric feast celebration, the manifestation of all-encompassing equality, purity. Next, and the perfect time is in primordial purity's vast expanse. And the perfect place, your own embodiment. And the perfect teacher, Lord Vajradhara, the great awareness holder, and the very nature of human awareness. And the perfect retinue, the assembly of Namanakaya's magical manifestations. And the perfect sublime teachings, the direct path of the primordially pure great perfection, great completion. Come to this tantric feast of celebration of the radiance of the light. And in this time of this joyous, fortunate age, the perfect place is wherever, here and now. And the perfect teachers, awareness, Vilamantra, Pamasambhava, others, awareness personified, and the perfect retinue, companionship, and the perfect teaching, the direct path of luminous great perfection. Come to this tantric feast celebration And in the midst of this perfect present time of self-manifest reality. And the perfect teacher is the Lama, who is one's own awareness. And the perfect retinue, the fortunate gathering. And the perfect sublime Dharma, the direct path of the great vehicle. Come to this tantric feast celebrating the realization of the natural state. May the power of the interdependent links I have made singing this joyous song of experience and strengthen the profound wisdom and skillful means bring this feast's magical manifestation to liberation together in the encompassing evenness of this immortal, vast body so endowed. I make this prayer to accomplish the rainbow body's great transference. So, we'll remain in awareness, resting for a while. I've been focusing a bit on getting beyond right and wrong, getting beyond good and evil, and yet living in the realm of good and evil. So this morning I'm going to focus a little bit more on awareness as self-liberation, as non-duality. And let's lean into each other, and if you lean into me, I'll give a better talk. The place of awareness, The place of awareness is us, And again, it has been going on for some months now. It's great and really helpful to know the difference between our mind and our awareness, or between mind and psyche. And of course, our mind knows differences. Our mind knows duality. It knows me and you. It knows us and them. It knows singularities. It knows details, faces, houses, cars, persons, this room. And yet this awareness is non-duality, is knowing oneness, knowing beingness of beings, knowing itself in everything and anything. And as Heraclitus declared centuries ago in the marketplace, the world is absolute oneness and absolute difference. And by integrating our mind into this awareness simultaneously, we can experience actually duality within non-duality and non-duality within duality. So again, we suspend our mind just a bit. That suspension, that epouche, just suspending it a bit. It's sort of a catch-22. But that moment. And then we can free this awareness to become aware of its own primordialness. And in this simple, minimal movement, we begin to experience this opening, this openness into and as the non-dual dimension of our own existence, of our own livingness. And we begin to experience this awareness. For us it may seem like a state, and then it opens as a field, going far, far beyond our body boundaries. And then we begin experiencing the self-manifestation of this field in time. We begin to experience the self-liberation and liberatingness of our mind and its containment, its locked-inness, its solipsism, as we enter this awareness of awareness, and as we begin to experience timelessness. The essence of awareness, the essence of Dzogchen, is timeless awareness. And then we integrate our mind and begin to experience timeless awareness in time. And as we focused on last week, beneath the months, is the power of how action can merge out of this timeless awareness through us into time. Really as the great compassion. As you and I enter and becoming this field of awareness, as we enter timeless awareness, in time, and time, experiencing time in timeless awareness, the manifestation of appearance is time. Our mind is time. And yet this awareness, this timelessness, is beyond our mind, and yet liberates our mind. This awareness dimension, within our human experience, ever present, but in times relentlessly hidden. So we unobscure it, we bring it forth, we settle in it, we rest in it, we become it. And that process happens over and over again. It's very simple. We lose it, can't find it. Where is it at? Spend mind. It arises. Actually, it comes to us. It gives itself to us. It absorbs us. As we integrate our mind, we integrate time into timelessness. It's like touching two of our fingers together. Forefinger, thumb. That symbol. Then, slowly but surely, begin to live from and within this base, this baseless base of awareness, of this radiance, of spaciousness. They do go together. Spaciousness, radiance, and the spaciousness of the radiance, this lucidity of openness, and the spaciousness of lucidity, this aliveness of lucidity, the vitalness, the vital energies of lucidity, of being in and of itself. So at this point, we're no longer just things in a big thing. Lots of things. So we shift from being in mind alone to being in this primordial awareness field. And in this experience, this unceasing awareness begins to manifest without so much confusion, without so much bewilderment, without so much doubt. And we begin to experience the unfolding of our own self-liberation, the self-liberatingness of this field, within this field, freeing us from fixatedness, freeing us from fixatedness, and freeing us from compulsivity. One of the great Dzogchen masters, named Penam Rinpoche, would say, fixatedness is like the what has to be dissolved. Forms of fixatedness, then unbound awareness. Fixatedness. We often think compulsivity, to each their own of course, but our compulsivity is desire, as if compulsivity is a manifestation of desire. But actually, in compulsivity, there's no desire. In compulsivity, subjectivity herself disappears. It really is a drivenness of thingness. dilemma of addictions. The innate nature of awareness is freeing and liberating for ourselves and even for others. Even to feel within a person, that freedom, that awareness is liberating to our own self. This bliss of freedom and this bliss that arises from within this state of awareness. As the tantrics tell us, bliss overcomes suffering. This awareness dimension of experience is always liberating us from the constrictions of being in mind alone, the historical mind, the generational mind, arising out of history and stories and events. And this awareness frees us by opening to us and for us the very nature of the experience. The nature of appearances both within us and around us, surrounding us. We begin experiencing and living within the experience that all appearance, all experience is the manifestation of this pure awareness, not as belief, but as experience, as manifestation, as felt sense, as knowingness. Our inner experience and even our mind is the manifestation of this pure awareness, of this innermost awareness field. And all the outer phenomena as a world is the manifestation of this primordial, pervasive awareness, manifesting everything and anything, including this innermost awareness, totally directly. And in these moments, at this momentum, the non-duality of oneness and indivisibility manifests within duality. The oneness of mind and awareness, the oneness of duality within non-duality, and non-duality within duality. Within this experience of the nature of awareness, this field so infinite in its horizon, so vast, so multidimensional, the nature of appearance, all appearance, inside and appearances outside, become transparent and translucent. And the energy and the light becomes apparent. The energy and the light manifesting appearance becomes apparent. And so it takes one to know one as awareness arises within us and opens us to reveal itself to us. It opens us and reveals itself to us as energy, as light, as open spaciousness. And then quite amazingly, our experience of our own mind and even the events begin to change. And rather than the mind being chock full of things, thought things, feelings things, driven things, sensation things, that you really can't penetrate, It's like dense. You can think about it, you can know about it, you can experience it, but then the mind itself opens. Thought actually opens as field. Sensation actually opens as field. Sound opens as field. Taste opens as field. Smell opens as field. Memory, locked in memory, opens as field. Liberation. Our primordial nature, this ongoing experience of this awareness field, is sustained, is maintained in the face of whatever is arising and whatever is appearing. And from whatever appearances are arising and showing forth, shining forth, and whoever is there and whatever is there, events after events, from the most beautiful to the most horrific, awareness itself becoming everything and anything, incarnating itself as this world and as the archetypical dimension, and become more intimate with the archetypical dimension and more intimate with potentiality itself. Dharmakaya, potential, unbound potential. Such is the power of awareness. Forms and sound, people and events do not obscure this rigpa, this awareness of awareness. And this rigpa liberates, and liberating us within the very experience of events. Liberating us within the experience of events, not in spite of the events. Within the events itself is liberation, natural liberation. All experiences. Awareness is like fire. It metabolizes everything and anything, and all experiences become energy, shakti, light. And the freedom of awareness is not the unhappy freedom of dissociation, splitting, detaching into solipsism, isolating, but the freedom of openness, the unboundedness, and the bliss, and the experiencing of the nature of everything and anything as energy and light. From our psychology becomes cosmology. As you and I bring our mind into experience, as experiencing this non-dual primordial awareness, as we bring our mind into it, bringing thinking, feeling, sensation, memory, love, hate, everything. The mind, bringing the mind's relentless judging, its relentless objectification of its own self, of all the who-ness. It dissolves slowly but surely into this sea of awareness, this sea of chi, the sea of gnosis. And then the mind begins to rest within this awareness, and the vastness, the spaciousness of our awareness then can hold everything and anything. In a certain way, bigger is better. This awareness dissolves, this power, this fire dissolves, metabolizes even the most primitive states of our mind, of our story, frozen configurations of experiencing a liberated. That is why the mind is not at all separate from the liberating experience. Let me just get rid of my mind and I'll be A-OK. Nothing happens. So these frozen configurations of experiencing are liberated, open, unlocked, and begin experiencing liquidity of being, fluidity. And everything arises, and everything is invited into this dimension. This is not the mantra, neti, neti, neti. Being in non-dual awareness gives us the basis for the mastery of experience and living skillfully, directly knowing, inside to inside, whatever and whenever directness opens up, both in speech and hearing and feeling, inside to inside, direct, unmediated. Of course, such words and metaphors as Shiva or Buddha or God at times can metaphorically be really useful and up to a point, opening the doors, and at times opening the doors to the divine actualities. But at times, unnecessary can also mystify us and distance ourselves from the immediacy of natural awareness, from the immediacy of the eminence of the beatific states. And again we fall into some otherness out there. Our own nature, or Swami Muktanand would often say, God dwells within you as you, is actually you. It's not deep, deep down, looking for some little seed that you have to grow. If you think this awareness is otherness, if you and I think that this awareness is otherness, we'll be waiting for Godot. If he thinks it's in front of us, if he thinks something's going to happen at a due date, there are many forms to liberation, all sorts of forms, psychologically, theologically, and every other ology, and all may be valid and useful in particular time, particular places, particular people. The form of self-liberation, where you and I are simply abiding and resting in this nature, just as it is quite unbound and unbinding. The very who of your person is this awareness. The very who of your person, my person, is this awareness. Even when we look at each other, we feel into each other, we come to is that who, that awareness. We can feel it, we can see it, but it's definitely not a something. It's not a nose, an ear. Those are like signifiers, little pathways. The who-ness is not your mind or my mind. Who-ness is not a thought. It's not my name. It's not my representations. It's not a feeling. It's not a memory. It's not my body. Although this who-ness is completely embodied in time and space. This who-ness is actually timeless awareness becoming time. Timeless awareness in time. Ceaselessly manifesting in time. This innate awareness is the who-ness. Divinity. To feel it is to become freed. It's manifesting in you as you and the here-ness and the now-ness. As Dzogchen Rinpoche, in his great prayer invoking the Lama from afar, describes the Buddha as now-ness, and who-ness is presence, your own presence, awareness. This process is the presencing of presence, pervasive presence. And the more we experience that presence, here and there and everywhere, then the more we're experiencing liberation. Primordial self-liberation does not mean achieving or accomplishing or earning or winning something that is new. It's really not spiritual capitalism, or as Trungpa once called it, spiritual materialism. is now is not something that was not always there, always completely present. Primordial self-liberation is always present without creation and without effort. In this context, as some say, truly trying is lying. You think something's in front of you. One day, maybe. This is the meaning of not coming from somewhere and having gone nowhere and going nowhere. So simply allowing your awareness to rest in awareness, resting in the natural state, without effort, without doctrines, without a catechism, frees us, gives itself to us. Just like your life and my life is given to us. Liberation is given in that moment. Or as they describe sometimes the tantras, the red drops and the white drops meet. And in that moment, liberation is being given to another being completely in that moment. So, this is the very nature of awareness, is liberating just as it is. And of course, whenever you and I like, we can take our mind and bring it into this awareness. Beginning the experience over and over of experiencing the oneness of mind and awareness, which is like an unbound sea, sky-like sea. This unimpeded field of awareness, is without base, without origin, has no birth and death. It's completely timelessness in time, and simultaneously time within timelessness. And as you and I touch this, then deathlessness awareness arises. Unborn, undying. Non-duality does not mean two joining into oneness. Oneness arising out of two-ness. Out of oneness, two-ness arises. Non-duality does not mean being close. Non-duality does not mean union. Non-duality is prior to union and disunion. Non-duality is prior to duality. Non-duality is prior to closeness and non-closeness. Non-duality is not two joining into oneness. Everything always takes place in non-duality, both closeness and non-closeness, both union and non-union, both knowing and knower already in complete non-duality. Whatever arises out of non-duality always dissolves back into non-duality. And then, at the perfect time and perfect place, arises out of non-duality back into time. So let's talk about deathless awareness a little bit. I'm going to pass the microphone around, and you can just staying relatively brief, focusing, suspending your mind a little bit. Because when we suspend our mind a bit, it's still operative, but it opens up that channel of the arising of the vibrations of the matrika shakti of words and language arising from where? Where they're arising from? From timeless awareness. You follow me? Say yes if that makes sense. Yes, please. Actually, yes. Everything is said and done. There's different dimensions and ways, but ultimately, after everything is said and done, primordial awareness is manifesting everything and anything. And it is timelessness, and it's manifesting itself as timelessness in time. Some say there are 3 dimensions. Someone like Panam Rinpoche would say there's infinite amount of dimensions as we go from Dharmakaya, and it's always simultaneous. Emptiness and form, to use that language. So let's just around. I'm going to pass this to you. Would you mind just saying just a little bit about deathless awareness or deathlessness and what that means for you? Just hearing out there sitting chatting this morning.
Deathless awareness is a true gift. It's an absolute pure gift, enabling one to glimpse, freeing, a lot of freedom and confidence and humor.
Do you know when you first glimpsed that by chance? You have to make it up in your mind.
Yeah.
It's quite startling.
Very startling. 2002, January at the tidal basin with the Dalai Lama's monks. They were here for Sackler Freer. They were doing a mandala for 3 weeks. And they ended it by marching with all their hats and horns to the tidal basin to release it. And I was literally, I tried 3 times to leave that day, and I couldn't leave. They kept coming back. So I just went with them, and then...
Great, thank you. Pass the microphone to the next person. Hi. You want to just focus for a moment and this awareness, non-dual, deathless awareness. Come on. Anything you'd like to say from your experience about that?
So I'd say I've had a variety of experiences of it. So one is in holding timelessness. Then the deathless awareness is inseparable from the timelessness.
What is like that to have that felt sense? I'm going to use that in a loose way. What's it like to have that felt knowingness? Because it's not mental knowingness.
So when I'm, it gets a little hard to describe.
Let's pause. Let's do the old pause thing. Let's see what arises.
So one aspect of it is it unbinds all constructs.
Yes. Just for a moment, would you say that again for all of us, please?
So one aspect is it unbinds all constructs.
Just pause again. And we'll feel that as he says that, right? The unbinding of all. You feel how true that is, right?
Including the construct of deathlessness.
Including, yes, that also. That concept. So, he's helping us understand the essence, to use a concept, of non-conceptual knowingness. Skip is conveying to us non-conceptual knowingness, huh? Or even the word knowingness sort of is limpid, but the non-conceptual, thought-free understanding, to use that word, huh? Beyond concepts, beyond constructs, and yet known. Unthought, but known. Thank you so much. And we'll pass the mic to the next person. You can pause for a minute. And would you mind just saying whatever you'd like to say or write about deathless awareness, to use one metaphor. All this stuff is a pathology.
Well, when you asked what was the first time you ever felt this, it brought me back to the first time I ever experienced this. I was 13 years old, and I had a tumor on my optic nerve, and I was in chronic pain because every time your eyes dilate, it sent shockwaves of pain through my entire body. And I had been in this pain for about 7 months, 24 hours a day. And I was lying in bed, and I was very physically weakened because I'd lost 35 pounds from the pain. And I just started breathing deeply. And it was very strange because there was sensation, but it became unrelated to pain. And it was this sensation that really went from the top of my head to the bottom of my feet became held in a greater experience that I could not name at the time. And it ultimately became blissful to just be aware of an experience. And that was my first time.
Well, listen to her words as they echo through the field in our bodies from within, experiencing that unfolding process. In extremis, huh? What I like about what Helen is saying also, how this manifestation doesn't require a particular condition, right? 1 condition, 2 condition, 3 condition. It arises as grace, as givenness within us, as us, in every circumstance possible. Thank you so much. Next person, would you mind describing this deathlessness,
So I was feeling a certain stillness and movement through time simultaneously. Just like everything kind of comes together.
beautiful description. What's it like to feel that simultaneously coming together of stillness and movement? What's it like even just to know that happens, what is happening to you even right now?
I guess the word that came up was luscious.
Great. That is a fantastic word. Luscious. Juicy. Rasa. Rasa. The aesthetics. I think spirituality is an aesthetic state. Huh? Luscious. pause and so there's so many ways of expressing this, huh? Stillness, breathing, luscious. And if you think it's all contained there also. We'll just focus for a moment. And then she talked, there were words, and then this direct experience of being in the field together takes place both within us and joining online. Thank you. Would you pass the mic to the next person?
Yeah.
And would you mind just describing your experience of this deathless awareness? And you can pause your mind and just watch what arises.
Deathless experience, deathless awareness. For me, when I first wake up in the morning, or when I first fall asleep, and the lights come in very large, mostly white or orange colors, coming like the sun, and I go into the light, and everything just dissolves, and the exquisite experience of freedom and presence. It first occurred as when I did the dark retreat, and when all sensate was diminished, and the body just disappeared, and the vision became 360 degrees, and I was aware of the birds outside the room, and it felt as though I had always been there. And it was a very familiar and all-encompassing, kind, relaxing, but very familiar experience.
So beautifully described, Jim. Thank you. And as you're describing this, experiencing what you're describing, which is liberating, so beautiful. Then an old friend comes to mind, Jim Moselle. And Jim Moselle is a psychologist I knew for many years. That's okay, and he was head of psychology, organizational psychology at GW. And he was a lover of Kashmir Shaivism. So he takes a huge trip to Kashmir. And who was the great Kashmir scholar in Kashmir? Huh? No. He's very, very famous. So he goes to Kashmir, and he goes to the mountains, and there he sees him, and then this yogi gives Jim just what you described. He says, when you wake up in the morning, you simply open and gaze, and when you go to sleep at night, and that in between, you open and gaze. Jim, thank you very much. And that was his remarkable practice, and I know he died in the light. Thank you so much. Wonderful present. Thank you. Next person. Do you mind just describing the experience of deathless awareness, whatever that means for you at this point?
When I think of that, I remember a few years ago being outdoors, actually at my swimming pool. And one day just looking at the sky that was huge and feeling as if I was the sky. There was no difference. And it was a scene I have seen many times, but it was the sense that I was one with it. And there was that experience of a real stillness and yet movement. I realized how small I was in the sense of the universe, and at the same time how big I was, that I was all of it. That was it. Yes. Isn't that shocking? One day, never showed up again. Maybe I'll show you the spot next time.
I think I need to find this Hilton. Mm-hmm. I think it's been with me a long time, and I was reminded of it when I really found music again. As a child, I would just create music, and then I forgot about that, and I dusted it off about 12 years ago. And I remember being in my home in Connecticut, and it was it's always in the middle of the night, and just channeling music. It wasn't something I knew to create. It came through, and that's where I felt that complete. I could be alive or not. It didn't matter. It was just in every cell was aligned in that process.
Thank you so much.
What's coming up for me is just dissolving the form into the formless. In some sort of dreamlike state.
What does it feel like as that takes place for you, that dissolving of form, your form into formlessness? What is that like? You don't mind, just a few more words from within you.
It feels whole and oneness.
Beautifully described. That word wholeness, huh? So clear. Would you like to say anything else?
I think that's all I got.
Thank you so much. Would you mind describing how you experience, and whenever you experience this awareness, to use that metaphor? You can pause and just notice how that is natural.
How I experience it is a falling away of organization, or priority, where instead of seeing, then touching, then knowing, then thinking, it's more a concert of all of that without an organization of my mind. So you taste with your skin, and you can smell and feel, and all of it immediate, like a blend. And if the mind chooses to come along, then it can. And some of what the mind does in response to that is organize a fear of not being there again, or not maintaining that, the terror of leaving that state. And then that falls away too. And then it's just a pleasure to be there. Well, it's funny. It's actually funny, you know. And I don't mean it as it's funny you should ask. I mean, it's funny. It's very funny. It makes you from your feet, from your ankles, all of it wants to just kind of chuckle. Oh, I'm here again. Okay. And I remember the first time that I cognizantly did this, and the feeling was how familiar it was to when I was a baby. And immediately terror came. Oh, I'm going to lose this again. And then it goes away, and it's so much richer now that you're there, knowing you're there and able to know it. Hmm.
Actually, I forget his name, but the guy, the great Lama that wrote Divinity of Appearance. Who? He was a great 11th century teacher. And he wrote about gnosis. And the big debate was does the Buddha have gnosis? And he would say, at that moment, knowing it as your it is not really gnosis. It's a step beyond gnosis. Or the true gnosis is knowing it as your it. And then when you know about it, that's something else. You had that moment. Thank you so much. And next person.
I have been sitting here this morning with an enormous amount of chi or prana or vitality or energy or whatever you want to call it, and just noticing how it settles into and penetrates into my body. And this discussion is really illuminating, because I started, it's like my mind started to go down lines of inquiry, but I'm figuring out from inside rather than inside my mind what my response is. So yeah, I'm learning to do this. So what I'm experiencing right now is the absolute certainty that I experienced two things, the breath and the energy, and they are not the same. The energy comes in through the breath, or can come in through the breath, but even without the breath, there is that vital life force energy that penetrates everything and is the source of knowing when I am able to and allow myself to feel it. And that, to me, feels like the distinction between living and dying and deathless awareness. That I have that ability at this moment to perceive things in and around my body, and to perceive the energy in and around my body, and the intensity of it, and the knowledge that I gain from it is what feels to me to be the deathless part. And yet the paradox, which my mind hasn't really figured out, which I'm happy to sit with for a while, is that the more deeply I feel into my body and the more I allow myself to be present in my body, the more I'm aware of it.
Beautifully described, and I love when Merleau-Ponty describes that our body is the medium of the field, and even when the body's disappearing, and you've disappeared, even physically, the medium is still the field, and the body is the medium of the field.
Right.
Thank you.
Yeah. This also leads me to a different understanding of the death process. I think previously I had looked at it like, if you do it right, according to whatever the tradition is that you might happen to subscribe to, is you've got to follow this channel, and it's got to come up through here, and it's got to do that, and you've got to have people chanting for however many days or whatever, or say a prayer. All those are well and good and very nice, and who knows, but it feels at this moment that the more that I train myself to be aware and available to this experience in every moment of every day, that the death process will simply be a moment of following that awareness. Just following that awareness. So easy.
Barbara. there are two hidden people more. Well, there you go, what you just said, because that's exactly where it's going, to where I first had it. And when you first started talking about this, that's where I went immediately, and I'd gotten a little bit engaged in everybody else's descriptions and forgotten about that for a little bit, and you just asked me about that. So that's part of it for me, the way that communication happens through the field. And things happen and things are known that can't be known in usual and intellectual ways, and seen in ways that normally would not be seen. In my first experience of that I remember, I was a child, and I was standing looking outside a door with some little glass windows with little squares, whatever you call that. I forget what you call that. Out the back door. And there was some argument going on inside of my house. And I looked through that glass, and what I saw was infinity, an infinity of little squares, of glass, of absolute timelessness, of absolute connection with all of everything in all times and all of everything. I was really quite young, and I've always remembered that. I think was the first time that I can recall, and many times since then in different ways.
As you remember even right now, what happened? As that memory opens that door to that place, what happens?
It's the smallness and the fear dissolve, and there's such a sense of holding, of being held, of being part of something beyond our usual knowing, and yet knowing that there's something beyond it, and it becomes a felt sense of I don't know how to describe it better. I'm trying to see how it comes, but it's a confidence, and it's very timeless because it's coming from it's coming from all directions and all times, and it's all time in one moment, in one body.
And the other hidden person is Mary Kay. Hi. Well, what came up for me was a memory. I was teaching at Barbara Brennan's School of Healing, and Barbara put me on the table to be a demonstration of past life healing. And she was trying to do this very advanced technique that was without a lot of process, but instead she had me screaming in agony in some past life on her table. And not elegant, not new, just old-fashioned process. And so I was, I won't describe the life, but, it was a dying agony. And then at one moment, I just went through into death. And I just came into this open, peaceful, spacious, wide, just totally wonderful. And I realized, wow, this is death. I thought that was death, the agony and the screaming and I was like, no, that isn't death. This is death. Wow, this is so beautiful and so peaceful, and just really transformed that whole sense of that moment.
One of my first memories is lying in bed and closing one eye and looking out of the other eye. And my one eye sees things very directly and sees things with a lot of concreteness. My other eye is very fuzzy and hazy, and I see things as little dots. And I remember opening and closing the eye and then opening them both and realizing that things were both concrete and made up of little dots. And then I could turn my head, and it was the same dots that made up different things as I turned my head. And then later on, they told me I had this terrible eye thing, and so so I learned to distrust that. I mean, I completely dismissed it. And then when I began to meditate, I realized that there was so much truth in that, and that I really that one can really see things as both concrete and indistinct, and all the indistinction, all the little dots are the same for everything else.
I remember being a little girl and laying in bed and experiencing vast darkness and movement at the same time. And I think that's how I still experience deathless awareness, that there is these two things of there's darkness and there's stillness and there's movement all the time at the same time. And I just feel such endless potential in it.
What's that like in those moments to feel the endless potential in that moment? Momentum. What's it like? If you don't mind.
It just feels very freeing, and it helps erase fear. It's a fearless quality too.
Do you feel that right now, by chance?
I do. I feel an endless potential right now.
What's it like just to be in that as you move around through everything and anything?
It's a very comfortable place in a way.
Do you feel like it's part of you, to use that sort of language? That this
I do. It feels natural.
Thank you so much. Welcome. Do you mind describing your experience of deathless awareness?
Well, in this moment, I experience it as a very dark presence that extends and stretches and travels and expands in a kind of endless path towards infinite peace and strange loss of senses, and the loss opens to exquisite beauty and depth and just endless potentiality. But it's in the darkness of loss that all of that evolves.
Beautifully described. Is it loss or absence? I'm not just trying to make it into a word deal. Is it like loss or absence? Are they the same phenomenon?
It is loss that has so much presence that the absence and the presence become one experience.
Beautifully described. Thank you so much. Let me pass the microphone to the next person. Can I describe
Sometimes it's like crossing a threshold. And as people were describing their experiences early, I had a cascade of memories come of early experiences of the infinite that seemed so innocent at the time. And then I kind of arrived at early adulthood where I'd be on the threshold of the experience and how much there was fear at that gateway, and how now there's such a longing to abide in that deathless awareness and embrace it, that crossing the threshold is so much easier.
Thank you so much. Maybe we'll pass the mic to the next person.
Thanks. Okay, so I am 4.5 years old. I'm in Cape Cod, and I'm looking out into the darkness of the sky where it's beautifully star-filled. And I was like, what is that? Because it was scary and mesmerizing and pulling me in, and I didn't know what that was, and I've always equated that with death. Just that vastness.
The mesmerizing part, what is that like, that mesmerizing?
So it's a pulling in. It's a pulling in. It's a taking, and it's simultaneously a taking and an enveloping. So you're both being. It's a part and within at the same time. Kind of. If I let my mind go in, I'm like questioning. But if I'm otherwise, I'm just there.
Thank you so much. We'll pass the microphone to Dawn. Thank you for describing your experience of deathless awareness.
Well, deathless awareness for me is realization that it's just sort of a realization that it's just this ending of breathing, and then you're just sort of into the deathlessness. It's just a process, a moving over. And and recently I've lost the fear of it. It's just another stage.
What's it like losing the fear? What is that like to let this out?
Then there's a certain just sigh of relief. Just a curtain that you can just pass through.
So deathless awareness, ordinary, esoteric, excruciating, and blissful. So as I've been noticing the net of Indra in my brain, initially I thought, oh, then I identify with that. But then what happened is that also it's like a simultaneous brain and net of Indra. And then memories changed from this little mechanism of memory and past memory and future memory. It's like an alchemical process where memory in the past and memory in the future don't inform the present the same way, because it's just a neutral experience that had happened. So on Sunday, I absolutely was the last minute. I had to do my corporate taxes. And the whole day, I had a headache, which I never get. I was nausea, which I never get. I forced myself every minute, taking 4.5 hours to do an hour's worth of tax work, and just forcing it through, exhausted afterwards. And Monday, realizing what my doggone self-talk had been. I hate doing this. This is just not fun. And then I said, but this is an alive moment. And I was being informed by those concretized past memories rather than the net of Indra. So I don't have this down, but I have the idea about saying, okay, the next time I have to do one of those doctor letters or patient charts or taxes, or because I still have more taxes to do, that to invoke the net of Indra. And I realized that I don't trust it, that I haven't been trusting it enough to do that kind of mundane thing with me. So, wish me luck.
Although it didn't have a name, a deathless awareness as a child seemed simple and natural. There was a time when I was playing with a friend, not in my own house, but in someone else's house, or a large place I wasn't familiar with. And we were playing with a ball. It was a dark colored ball, and it went behind me and went through a door and into a dark room. I didn't know where the light was, and it was my task to go get the ball. So I entered the dark room, and I had fear about being in this dark room as a child alone. The friend did not want to come. But there was a certainty that I would get the ball within me. And I remember every sense being so alive, not on edge, but alive, not knowing what I was entering into or what was in the room, what I was touching, I didn't really see the form. Couldn't really see the ball, but just, I don't know what the word is, experienced my way into the room, into finding the ball, without being directed at it or toward it, if that makes sense. Forward years later, I'm in training, I'm answering, very early in training, and I'm answering a page that scares me right away, because it's, what is that, and how much don't I know? And I'm thinking that I wish I were like my other colleagues, my other students at that time, who could memorize everything, because I was so not a memorizer. But I wasn't, and I would go to wherever the page had summoned me to go, and if it was a patient's room, I would knock on the door, fear rising inside of me. What am I going to be called upon to do? Will I know what to do? Will I know what I'm seeing? How do I assess? What questions do I ask? What do I do? How do I manage this? Knock on the door, open the door, and it was something else came forward from within me. It was not fear. It was not what I had memorized, but I would simply be and do. And the circumstances would just unfold very simply, very naturally. And although I might not have done something before, I would know enough of what to do. At the same time, I would know my limit. And that was an amazing feeling in a new situation, to realize this is what I know, this is what I can do, and this is where I need to go find someone without thinking about it. It certainly wasn't something I memorized, because I can't do that. Fast forward again, and years later, I'm here, probably for the first time. And an experience I had was among many that first time, but one was being like in mud. Very real, very three-dimensional. And I am just one aspect of mud. If mud has cells in it, I'm one cell in mud, and every single other cell around me looks and feels the same. You can feel them. There's a skin to me, but I know that's no different from the next cell over. It kind of scared me. I wanted to go up or down or forwards or back, and I tried that, but it was all the same. It was no different. If I looked up, it was the same as looking down. If I moved one way, the circumstances didn't change. And that also felt very similar to the other two experiences, a sense of that deathless awareness where everything is alive, everything is dynamic, everything is naturally unfolding, and there is a fear and there is the leaving of fear.
Beautifully described. Would you pass the mic to me? Your description is really very direct, and this page came to me, and I'm going to read it, if you don't mind. We'll hang out. Uncontrived, phenomenal existence is the Dharmakaya. Uncontrived, phenomenal existence is the Dharmakaya. And this is from Longchenpa, his last works. I'll just, one more time. Uncontrived, phenomenal existence is the Dharmakaya. Take delight within the enlightened awareness of uncreated wisdom, and uncontrived elements, or the Sambhogakaya. Take delight within the basic space of these uncontrived colors, and uncontrived sentient beings, or the Namanikaya. And within that, the unceasing expanse is uncontrived compassion. The uncontrived alaya is exaltation, and within that, the expanse of space is uncontrived awareness. Natural wisdom is perfectly pure and non-dual as uncontrived spaciousness. And this is the expanse of uncontrived self-emergent awareness. The uncontrived nature of mind is awareness. And within that, uncontrived mental events are the light of wisdom. The unconscious or the uncontrived movements of thoughts, the uncontrived movements of thoughts is the intrinsic nature of light. And uncontrived sentient beings are the actual Buddhas. And uncontrived ignorance is actual awareness. And the uncontrived 5 poisons, or the 5 wisdoms. We'll just rest quietly for a little while. So we still have a bit more time, and maybe next week this other side of the room will have them share their experiences. But I'd like people to pair up just a little bit. I'm just very simple, whoever you're with, just without it being a big deal. I'm just going to enter into, just hold awareness. I'm going to move rapidly and elegantly. And we'll enter awareness with this other person. But without speaking, okay? Just without speaking for a bit. And I'd like us to suspend our minds just for a few moments in that uncontrived way. And suspending your mind even a little bit more. And even if you can suspend reflection, would be really cool. And we're going to gaze with our eyes closed, first of all, for a few moments. Like you're gazing through your whole body. And you're gazing beyond your mind. And you're gazing inside to inside. And it's absolutely okay for you to do this. And it's absolutely okay for you to enter into this other person. But without a thought. And maybe even leaning a little bit into them, psychically leaning into them, as if you're passing through this awareness. And then you pause as you experience the non-dual state. Like pausing. In the inner space. And then as you're in that place indivisibly, I'll read this here again from Longchenpa. Whatever phenomena appear are able to be sustained as the intrinsic nature of the primordial pure Dharmakaya, as the self-arising states, it's a text. In truth, concerning this unborn self-clarity, there's no way to apply an antidote. With neither direction nor bias, there's no self or self-fixation. With no good or bad concepts, the limits of being or not being are transcended, gone beyond, and the idea of being conceptual or not is simply left behind. Without eternalism or nihilism, the idea of deviation and obscuration is transcended, gone beyond, and there's neither realization nor lack of it, since the extremes of being either pure or impure have been surpassed. Exceeding the mind, mental events and phenomena, there's neither cognition nor lack of it. Transcending and going beyond the mind of ignorant confusion, bewilderment, there's the freedom from sounds and designated words. There's no stain of the dualistic mind. The blemish of the non-conceptual path has been cleared. Or the blemish of the conceptual path has been cleared, And there's freedom from the phenomena that fixate upon substance and no training on the grounds and paths. It's not necessary to make offerings to deities. No security is derived from the 10 virtues, nor will the non-virtues affect this. So how can there be lower realms of samsara? Without the phenomenon of nirvana or the notion of self and others existing, how can there be that which is incorrect or not? With that, if you want, you can chat about your experience to your companion for a few moments, just what that was like. That knowingness you just experienced, if you did. How you guys doing online today? Great. How you guys doing? Hi, Dan. Huh? Cool. Hi, Tom.
I thought that was great. I'm sitting here feeling like everything that has ever happened or will happen is happening right now, right here. I'm like a satiated.
Cool.
Buddha lives down the street, Christ around the corner.
You're in good company. Hi, Gisela. How are you doing? Thank you. And Karen, how are you doing in Florida? Karen, are you on? Maybe you're not. Yeah. Okay, great. St. John's is great.
And having no differentiation of seeing the near-death experience because I was living the death experience alive, and I think that was like living inside out.
Yes, inside out.
It's really beautiful. Yeah, that was great.
Thank you so much. And Kathy, how are you doing?
Oh, good. I was working with this, and also just love the focus on
breathless awareness this morning. Sort of a lot of things rose to the surface for me about those experiences, and calling them to mind again is really is bringing them back into the present, and just seeing other people's experiences and following my own were wonderful.
Thank you. And Lynn, how are you doing this morning?
Doing well. I'm very glad to be able to join all of you. And toward the end, I was exactly I was listening to Rudy, and just feeling a sense of in a place of pure potential. Great.
Thank you. Anybody else want to say anything? I can't really see any cat. Okay. We'll see you guys next week or Friday. And Saturday we'll have the Dakini practices. Hasta la vista, guys. See you guys. See you. Voila. I don't want to turn it off, though. It's the only problem. Okay, guys. See you guys. You had a good time. Hasta la vista. Okay, great. Take it easy. You can hand them. Yes.
Are we done?
Yeah, we're done, I guess. Thank you, guys. Yeah, you can ask me about what? Yeah, there's a smaller one that's simpler, and I'll be glad to give you the smaller one. It's the same text from the same empowerment. This is the mid-size. There's a giant one too, but I have a nice little one. I'm so glad. Is that okay? And I'll give you that, and we can give it to Amy. Is that okay? It's just it'll make it more doable. It's only 2 pages. Thanks. Hasta la vista. See you guys. Take it easy. Yes, hi. Okay. second. Yeah. This is the situation. Chris next week. But the week after that, and I can talk in a few minutes after that. And why don't you have time there? And I can talk with the people down here. I love to talk to you. I'm doing great. This okay today? I do want to talk about it though. Next week, just 10 minutes.
Bye, see ya.
Great. We have an appointment? No.
Yes, Friday.
Friday, okay, great. Good morning. Okay, great. Good, thanks. I'm sorry.
Figure it out. Thank you.
I think that I'm so happy about the being the core.
Wait a second. It won't happen again because now they built that building. I was sitting here when you get out on the left and look out at the sky. All right. But every time I went back, I didn't have that experience. It just became cool in the sky.
I loved it though. It was perfect. It was really beautiful.
There's a book you mentioned last week.
You know what?
Yeah, the clear mirror.
Clear mirror.
And he's in the archetypical realm.
I couldn't remember it till right now.
Thank you so much.
I'll write up the other thing I was going Yes.
We're also
I'm so glad. It's a whole other thing, and authority and irresponsible. I'm thinking about talk to other people. It'll be purposely therapists, coaches, and mental health workers, and everybody. But we'll be careful who we let in, because people have this place of just torture. But I'm going to think about it some more. Yes, you can merge it with an But I've changed it from changing just being the coaches.
Why don't we go a couple of weeks?
It's like they say it
Because that's pretty flexible.
He's a Gestalt person in California. Loma body work.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
How old is he now? He's 50. He's been around a long time. He's a great person.
Yes, I mean, it's too long distance. Okay.
So he's going to use it, sell it as an antique or something. Only if you have the connections and how in the world did you get it out?
It's a very nice one. We might share that sometime. It helps people do it. Thank you.
No, I felt it. So that's
And it's not existential.
Yes, exactly.
I like this thing, the existential program. I don't like the Gestalt program used to be. I want more people involved in This is really great. That's his. Thank you. I'd like it to be larger. I'm just percolating it right now. Talk to Tom. I'm just going to speak to people. I don't have a time thing. I just because if you come, if you come and have I'd like to think of something that people who you could say would be able to come. Okay, I'm happy to do this. I'm just been a little bit. I've been doing my practice. Her experience. Let me think. But I'm perking with it right now. Okay. Okay. I'm serious about this because initially I thought about just doing another therapy training program.